The Conspiracy of Crowns, a legend of the Tarot Kingdom's political intrigue. The Hierophant Summons. In the pre-dawn hours when shadows still clung to the kingdom's spires like reluctant dreams, 4 identical ravens took flight from the Hierophant's sacred tower. Each bore a message sealed with the ancient sigil of spiritual authority, a summons that had not been issued in 3 generations. The recipients were the most powerful figures in the Tarot Kingdom's political structure. The world herself, the cosmic dancer whose eternal motion maintained the kingdom's balance, and the senior representatives of the 4 great families that formed the backbone of the realm's governance. The world received her summons as she performed her eternal dance atop the crystal pinnacle. Her 4 elemental guardians, the angel of air, the eagle of water, the lion of fire, and the bull of earth, maintaining their vigilant watch at the cardinal points. As she read the Hierophant's urgent request, her perpetual motion slowed for the first time in living memory, causing a subtle tremor to ripple through the kingdom's foundations. From the House of Pentacles came the Ace, the fundamental essence of earthly power, manifestation made conscious, bearing within herself the potential of all material abundance. She had been tending the great vault where the kingdom's true wealth, not mere gold, but the crystallized essence of all productive endeavor, was stored in forms that transcended physical currency. The House of Swords sent their ace, the pure intellect of cutting truth, the double-edged blade of justice and discernment. She had been mediating a complex territorial dispute in the northern provinces, her razor-sharp analysis cutting through layers of obfuscation to reveal the heart of the conflict. From the House of Cups came their ace, the overflowing chalice of emotional and spiritual wisdom, the source from which all love, intuition, and creative inspiration flowed. She had been counseling the kingdom's artists and healers, helping them navigate the delicate balance between feeling and wisdom. The House of Wands was represented by their ace, the primal spark of will and action, the lightning rod of pure creative force. She had been overseeing the kingdom's expansion projects, channeling raw ambition into constructive achievement. As the first light of dawn touched the Hierophant's tower, these 5 figures converged in the Chamber of Confluences, where the most sensitive matters of kingdom governance were discussed away from the scrutinizing eyes of court and citizenry. The Empress's urgent message. The Hierophant, his weathered face grave with unprecedented concern, wasted no time with ceremonial pleasantries. I have summoned you because the Empress herself has requested this gathering. Her message concerns the stability of the kingdom itself, and it must be handled with absolute discretion. As if conjured by his words, the air in the chamber shimmered, and the Empress appeared, not physically present, but projected through the combined will of the major arcana. Her usual serene composure was marked by an urgency that sent ripples of alarm through the assembled representatives. My faithful guardians of the 4 foundations, the Empress began, her voice carrying the authority of one who had nurtured civilizations from seed to fruition, I bring tidings that will test the very bonds that hold our kingdom together. The cosmic forces that maintain our realm's stability are shifting in ways that demand immediate but carefully orchestrated response. The world ceased her eternal dance completely, causing the chamber's walls to vibrate with harmonic frequencies that had not been heard since the kingdom's founding. Speak plainly, Mother of All, she requested, using the Empress's most ancient title. What threatens the balance I maintain? The Empress's projected form solidified, her crown of 12 stars pulsing with each word. The kings of your 4 houses have grown restless. Each believes his realm should hold primacy over the others. The King of Pentacles hoards resources that should flow freely, believing material wealth grants him ultimate authority. The King of Swords marshals intellectual arguments for his supremacy, claiming only rational governance can save the kingdom. The King of Cups manipulates emotional currents to build support for his benevolent dictatorship. The King of Wands masses his forces, believing decisive action can cut through all political complexity. The Ace of Pentacles straightened, her voice carrying the weight of accumulated wealth and responsibility. This has been building for some time, Empress. Each king sees threats from the others that may exist more in ambition than reality. Precisely, the Empress continued. which is why what I must ask of you requires the utmost delicacy. There is a way to restore balance, but it requires empowering the kings in a manner that appears to grant them what they desire, while actually ensuring none can dominate the others. The secret empowerment. The Hierophant produced 4 ancient artifacts from a vault that seemed to exist in several dimensions simultaneously. Each artifact pulsed with power that was unmistakably royal, yet subtly interconnected in ways that would not be immediately apparent to their recipients. These are the spheres of sovereign authority, the Empress explained through her projection. Each contains genuine power that will satisfy the respective king's ambitions, but they are quantum entangled in such a way that using one automatically activates the others. No single king can achieve dominance because each empowerment creates equal empowerment in his counterparts. The Ace of Swords examined the sphere destined for her king, a crystalline orb that seemed to contain swirling galaxies of pure thought. Ingenious, she murmured. It appears to grant intellectual supremacy while actually ensuring intellectual balance. The King of Pentacles will receive the sphere of material manifestation, the Empress continued, allowing him to create wealth at an unprecedented scale. But every coin he creates will generate equivalent resources in the other 3 kingdoms. The King of Cups will command the sphere of emotional resonance, able to inspire profound feeling, but his influence will automatically create emotional wisdom in his counterparts that prevents manipulation. The King of Wands will wield the sphere of dynamic action, able to implement change with lightning speed, but his actions will trigger equally swift adaptive responses in the other realms. The world resumed a slow, thoughtful rotation, a masterstroke of cosmic engineering. But why the secrecy? Why not explain this balance to the kings directly? The Empress's expression grew solemn. Because male authority, in its current manifestation within our kingdom, requires the illusion of dominance even when accepting partnership. If the kings knew their power was balanced by design, their egos would reject the arrangement. They must believe themselves to be gaining advantage while actually receiving harmony. The queens must not know the Ace of Cups. Her intuitive nature, immediately grasping the deeper implications, voiced what all were thinking. And the queens? Surely they would see through this arrangement immediately. Which is precisely why they must be kept unaware, the Empress replied, her tone heavy with regret. The queens possess wisdom that would instantly recognize the true nature of these artifacts. The Queen of Pentacles would see the economic interconnectedness, the Queen of Swords would analyze the logical dependencies, the Queen of Cups would intuit the emotional balancing, and the Queen of Wands would perceive the strategic equilibrium. The Hierophant nodded gravely. If the queens shared this knowledge with their kings, the masculine pride that currently threatens the kingdom's stability would transform into humiliation and rage. The kings would reject the spheres entirely, leaving us back where we started. Or worse, they might unite in their anger against what they would perceive as feminine manipulation. The world's dance slowed to a mournful rhythm. So we must deceive our sister queens to preserve the kingdom's peace. The irony is bitter. Those with the wisdom to understand our solution must be denied knowledge of it. It is a temporary necessity, the Empress assured them, though her voice carried its own burden of regret. When the kings have grown accustomed to their balanced power, when their egos have adapted to shared rather than exclusive authority, then the truth can be revealed. But for now, the queen's ignorance serves the greater good. The knights as guardians. The conversation turned to the practical aspects of the conspiracy. The Ace of Wands, her aggressive nature channeled into strategic thinking, addressed the security concerns. If this secret is so crucial, how do we ensure it remains hidden? The court is full of eyes and ears. This is where the knights become essential, the Hierophant explained. Each of your house's knights must be brought into partial confidence, not about the true nature of the spheres, but about the need to protect their kings during this period of transition. They will be told that enemy agents seek to undermine the kingdom by attacking the king's authority, which is true from a certain perspective. The Empress's projection gestured, and images of the 4 knights appeared in the chamber's air. The Knight of Pentacles, steady and defensive, the Knight of Swords, swift and alert, The Knight of Cups, intuitive and protective. The Knight of Wands, aggressive and proactive. The Knight of Pentacles will establish security protocols around all financial and material transactions, ensuring that no one discovers the interconnected nature of the wealth generation. The Knight of Swords will monitor all intellectual discourse and scholarly investigation, intercepting any analysis that might reveal the sphere's true function. The Knight of Cups will sense any emotional disturbances that might indicate someone is questioning the arrangement, allowing for preemptive damage control. The Knight of Wands will take direct action against any threats to the conspiracy's secrecy. The Ace of Swords frowned thoughtfully. The Knights are capable, but they're not subtle. How do we ensure they don't draw attention to what they're protecting through the very intensity of their protection? By giving them a cover story they can believe in completely, the world replied, her cosmic perspective revealing the strategy's elegance. They will be told that foreign kingdoms are planning to exploit any sign of internal division, that their vigilance protects not just their kings, but the kingdom's independence. Their protective instincts will be channeled toward external threats, while inadvertently shielding our internal secret. The pages as messengers. The final element of the conspiracy involved the most junior members of each house's hierarchy, yet perhaps the most crucial for its success. The 4 pages, young, eager, and often overlooked by their seniors, would serve as the communication network that maintained the conspiracy's operational integrity. The pages possess a unique advantage, the Hierophant observed. Their youth makes them invisible to serious political consideration, yet their position gives them access to information from all levels of their respective hierarchies. More importantly, their loyalty is to their houses rather than to personal ambition, making them ideal for carrying sensitive communications. The Empress's projection showed the 4 pages, the Page of Pentacles, methodical and reliable, the Page of Swords, clever and swift, the Page of Cups, empathetic and discreet, the Page of Wands, enthusiastic and bold. Each page will be given partial information, enough to perform their role, but not enough to understand the full scope of the operation. The Page of Pentacles will carry coded messages about resource allocation and economic coordination. The Page of Swords will relay intelligence about potential security breaches and analytical threats. The Page of Cups will communicate emotional climate reports and relationship dynamics. The Page of Wands will deliver action plans and tactical updates. The Ace of Cups raised a concern. Using the pages as unwitting agents troubles my conscience. They deserve honesty from their leaders. They will receive honesty, the Empress replied, within the bounds of what serves the kingdom's welfare. Each will be told that they are part of a vital mission to preserve the balance of power and prevent civil conflict, which is absolutely true. They will take pride in their service and grow in wisdom through their responsibilities. When the conspiracy is eventually revealed, they will understand that their ignorance protected both themselves and the realm. The delicate dance begins. With the conspiracy's structure established, the actual implementation began with ceremonial precision. The world resumed her eternal dance, but now her movements carried encoded messages to each of the 4 corners of the kingdom. Her dance appeared unchanged to casual observers, but those initiated into the conspiracy could read in her gestures the subtle communications that coordinated their activities. The Hierophant dispatched sacred messengers to each of the 4 kings, bearing invitations to receive divine blessings that would enhance their royal authority. The language was carefully crafted to appeal to each king's specific desires, while concealing the true nature of what they would receive. Meanwhile, the 4 aces returned to their respective domains to begin the delicate work of preparing their houses for the conspiracy's unfolding. Each faced unique challenges in maintaining secrecy while ensuring effective coordination. The House of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles found herself walking a particularly narrow path. Her domain's emphasis on practical results and transparent accounting made concealment challenging, yet essential. She began by restructuring the house's financial reporting systems, creating legitimate but complex documentation that would obscure the interconnected nature of the coming wealth generation. The Knight of Pentacles was briefed on potential economic espionage from rival kingdoms and assigned to enhance security around all material transactions. His methodical nature made him ideal for implementing comprehensive protective measures without questioning their specific necessity. The Page of Pentacles was given responsibility for carrying economic reports between the different levels of government, told that accurate information flow was crucial for maintaining the kingdom's financial stability during uncertain times. His dedication to detail ensured that coded messages would be delivered precisely as intended. The House of Swords. In the realm of intellect and analysis, the Ace of Swords faced the challenge of concealing truth from those whose very nature was to seek truth. She began disseminating carefully crafted intelligence reports that suggested external threats to the kingdom's intellectual sovereignty, providing legitimate reasons for increased security around scholarly and analytical activities. The Knight of Swords was informed of potential cognitive warfare, attempts by foreign powers, and tasked with monitoring all intellectual discourse for signs of manipulation or subversion. His swift, decisive nature made him effective at intercepting potentially problematic analysis before it could spread. The Page of Swords was assigned to establish new communication protocols for sensitive intelligence, creating networks that could carry the conspiracy's coded messages while appearing to serve routine security functions. The House of Cups. The emotional sophistication of the Cups presented unique opportunities and challenges. The Ace of Cups used her deep understanding of psychological dynamics to create narratives that satisfied the need for emotional truth while concealing operational details. The Knight of Cups was alerted to potential emotional manipulation campaigns from hostile forces and charged with monitoring the kingdom's emotional climate for signs of artificial influence. His intuitive gifts made him naturally suited to detecting genuine threats while inadvertently shielding the conspiracy's emotional engineering. The Page of Cups was entrusted with maintaining emotional intelligence networks that tracked the kingdom's psychological well-being, providing cover for communications about the conspiracy's emotional impacts and necessary adjustments. The House of Wands. The Wands' emphasis on direct action and immediate results required the most careful management. The Ace of Wands channeled her house's aggressive energy into protective rather than expansive activities, framing the conspiracy's security needs as defensive preparations against imminent threats. The Knight of Wands was briefed on potential destabilization attacks and given broad authority to take preemptive action against any perceived threats to the kingdom's stability. His proactive nature was ideal for heading off problems before they could develop into genuine dangers to the conspiracy. The Page of Wands was assigned to establish rapid response communication systems for crisis coordination, creating the infrastructure needed for quick adjustments to the conspiracy's implementation while appearing to serve general emergency preparedness. The spheres are delivered. The ceremony of empowerment took place on the night of the new moon, when the kingdom's psychic atmosphere was most receptive to profound change. Each king received his sphere in a private ritual conducted by the Hierophant himself, with only the relevant house's ace, knight, and page in attendance. The King of Pentacles received the sphere of material manifestation in his treasury, surrounded by the accumulated wealth of generations. As he grasped the artifact, his eyes widened with the realization of the creative power now at his disposal. "With this," he whispered, "I can make the kingdom prosper beyond all imagining." He did not notice the subtle pulses of energy that connected his sphere to 3 others across the realm. The King of Swords was presented with the sphere of intellectual authority in his library, among the collected wisdom of ages. As the artifact settled into his hands, his mind suddenly encompassed analytical frameworks of unprecedented sophistication. "This will bring order to all chaos," he declared, unaware that his enhanced intellect was balanced by equal enhancements in his counterparts. The King of Cups received the sphere of emotional resonance in his garden, where the very flowers seemed to lean toward the artifact's gentle radiance. As he accepted the sphere, waves of empathy and understanding washed over him, connecting him to every heart in the kingdom. "At last," he breathed, "I can heal all wounds and unite all hearts." not realizing that his emotional influence was being balanced by emotional wisdom in the other realms. The King of Wands was given the sphere of dynamic action on his training grounds, where the clash of weapons provided a fitting backdrop. As the artifact's power merged with his own, he felt his capacity for swift, decisive implementation expand exponentially. "Now I can cut through all delay and indecision," he announced, unconscious of the fact that his enhanced agency was creating equal capacity for adaptive response in his fellow kings. The balance achieved. In the days following the empowerment ceremony, the conspiracy's architects watched with careful attention as the sphere's effects manifested throughout the kingdom. The results exceeded their most optimistic projections. The King of Pentacles began generating wealth at an unprecedented rate, but instead of accumulating exclusively within his domain, the abundance spread equally across all four houses. When he created a new gold mine that should have made his realm supremely wealthy, equivalent discoveries appeared simultaneously in the territories of the other three kings. His advisors attributed this to favorable cosmic conditions and the kingdom's general prosperity. The King of Swords implemented intellectual reforms with brilliant efficiency, but his enhanced analytical capabilities were matched by equivalent improvements in the reasoning abilities of his counterparts. When he developed new systems of law and governance, the other kings found themselves equally capable of understanding and improving upon his innovations. The resulting legislation reflected true collaborative wisdom rather than the dominance of any single perspective. The King of Cups began emotional initiatives that should have given him unparalleled influence over the kingdom's hearts, but his enhanced empathy was balanced by enhanced emotional intelligence in the other kings. His attempts at benevolent manipulation were met with gentle but firm resistance, rooted in equally profound understanding of human nature. The result was authentic emotional healing rather than coercive influence. The King of Wands launched ambitious action programs with his characteristic energy, but his enhanced capacity for implementation was matched by enhanced adaptive capabilities in the other kings. When he moved to expand his territory or influence, the others responded with equal swiftness and effectiveness, creating dynamic equilibrium rather than domination. The Queen's suspicions. Despite the conspiracy's careful planning, the Queen's wisdom could not be completely blinded to the unprecedented changes occurring within their realms. Each began to notice patterns that suggested coordination beyond coincidence, though none could yet piece together the full truth. The Queen of Pentacles observed that her king's financial successes seemed mysteriously linked to simultaneous windfalls in the other kingdoms. Her attempts to investigate were gently frustrated by the Knight of Pentacles' enhanced security measures, which she attributed to general caution during prosperous times. The Queen of Swords noted that her king's intellectual innovations were being matched by equally sophisticated developments in the other houses. Her analytical probes were deflected by the Knight of Swords' counterintelligence activities, which appeared to be routine security protocols. The Queen of Cups sensed emotional currents that suggested artificial orchestration of the kingdom's psychological harmony. Her intuitive investigations were redirected by the Knight of Cups' protective monitoring, which seemed to be standard emotional health maintenance. The Queen of Wands perceived strategic patterns that implied coordinated rather than competitive action among the kings. Her tactical inquiries were intercepted by the Knight of Wands' preemptive security measures, which appeared to be normal defensive preparations. The conspiracy held because each queen's suspicions were addressed individually, preventing them from combining their insights into a complete picture. The Knight's protective activities provided plausible explanations for the information restrictions, while the Page's communication networks ensured that potentially dangerous knowledge was contained before it could spread. The test of crisis. The true test of the conspiracy's effectiveness came during the crisis of the burning bridges, when a series of natural disasters threatened to destroy the physical and economic connections between the four houses' territories. Under normal circumstances, such a crisis would have triggered fierce competition for resources and mutual blame for inadequate preparation. Instead, the empowered kings responded with unprecedented cooperation. The King of Pentacles used his enhanced wealth generation capabilities to fund relief efforts across all territories. The King of Swords employed his amplified analytical powers to coordinate rescue and reconstruction activities. The King of Cups channeled his expanded emotional influence to maintain hope and solidarity throughout the crisis. The King of Wands applied his increased capacity for swift action to implement emergency measures across the entire kingdom. Each king believed himself to be demonstrating superior leadership while magnanimously assisting his less capable colleagues. In reality, the sphere's quantum entanglement ensured that each contribution enhanced the other's abilities to contribute, creating a feedback loop of ever-improving collaborative response. The crisis was resolved with an efficiency that amazed the kingdom's citizens and foreign observers alike. More importantly, it established a new pattern of cooperative governance that seemed to arise naturally from the king's enhanced capabilities rather than from external pressure or artificial arrangement. The pages come of age. As the conspiracy matured from emergency measure to established system, the 4 pages who had served as its communication network began to develop a sophisticated understanding of the larger forces they served. While still not privy to the full truth about the spheres, their constant exposure to the conspiracy's operations gave them insights that would shape their future roles. The Page of Pentacles, through carrying coded economic messages, developed an intuitive understanding of the kingdom's financial interconnectedness that transcended what any formal education could have provided. He began to see money and resources not as possessions to be hoarded, but as energy to be circulated for maximum benefit. The Page of Swords, through relaying intelligence about security concerns, gained practical knowledge of how information flows through complex systems, and how truth can be both revealed and concealed according to circumstances and necessity. He learned that wisdom sometimes required not just knowing what to say, but knowing when to remain silent. The Page of Cups, through monitoring emotional climate reports, developed sophisticated skills in reading the subtle psychological currents that influence individual and collective behavior. He began to understand that emotional intelligence was not just about feeling deeply, but about sensing the deeper patterns that connected all hearts. The Page of Wands, through coordinating action plans, learned to see beyond immediate tasks to the strategic purposes they served. He developed an appreciation for how individual actions contributed to larger patterns of cause and effect that shaped entire kingdoms. As these insights accumulated, the pages began to anticipate the day when they would inherit greater responsibilities within their houses. The conspiracy that had shaped their youth was preparing them to become leaders who would naturally understand the importance of balance and cooperation over domination and conflict. The evolution of secrecy. 3 years after the sphere's deployment, the conspiracy had achieved its primary objective so thoroughly that its continued secrecy became less crucial to the kingdom's stability. The kings had grown accustomed to their enhanced but balanced power, developing governing styles that emphasized collaboration over competition. Their egos had adapted to shared rather than exclusive authority, finding satisfaction in collective achievement rather than individual dominance. More subtly, but perhaps more importantly, the entire kingdom's political culture had evolved. Citizens had grown accustomed to seeing their leaders work together effectively, creating expectations that made competitive or hostile behavior between the houses increasingly unacceptable. The conspiracy had not just prevented conflict, it had created conditions that made future conflict culturally and politically impossible. The Queen's suspicions had not diminished, but they had evolved into something approaching understanding. While still unaware of the specific mechanism of the spheres, each had begun to recognize that some form of beneficial coordination was occurring. Their investigations had shifted from seeking to expose potential deception to ensuring that whatever was happening continued to serve the kingdom's best interests. The Hierophant began to prepare for the conspiracy's eventual revelation, developing plans for how the truth could be shared without destroying the beneficial patterns it had created. The Empress indicated her approval of these preparations, suggesting that the time for complete honesty was approaching. the world's new dance. As the kingdom settled into its new equilibrium, the world modified her eternal dance to reflect the achieved balance. Her movements, which had been temporarily disrupted by the conspiracy's implementation, now flowed with renewed grace and complexity. The four elemental guardians at the cardinal points no longer maintained rigid vigilance against imbalance, but instead participated in a more dynamic choreography that celebrated harmony achieved through wisdom rather than imposed through force. Observers throughout the kingdom noted that the world's dance had acquired new beauty and meaning, though few understood that they were witnessing the cosmic celebration of successful political alchemy. The kingdom itself seemed to breathe more easily, its natural cycles flowing with less resistance and greater creativity. The conspiracy's architects, the Hierophant, the Empress, the aces, knights, and pages, watched these developments with deep satisfaction. They had preserved the kingdom through its moment of greatest internal danger and laid the foundation for a new era of sustainable cooperation. Yet they also prepared for the next phase of their work, the gradual revelation of the truth in a manner that would enhance rather than destroy the beneficial patterns they had created. The conspiracy of crowns would soon transform into the wisdom of crowns, teaching future generations that true leadership required not just power, but the intelligence to use power in service of balance and the greater good. The legacy of necessary deception, the conspiracy of crowns became a foundational legend of the Tarot Kingdom, though its full truth was revealed only gradually, as each generation proved capable of understanding and preserving its essential lessons. The story taught that leadership sometimes required making difficult choices about when to share truth and when to protect others from truths they were not yet ready to handle wisely. It demonstrated that feminine wisdom often worked through indirection and subtlety, when masculine pride would reject direct counsel, and that the highest service sometimes required temporary sacrifice of personal comfort and complete honesty. The queens who were kept in ignorance were eventually honored as having unknowingly participated in the kingdom's salvation through their very exclusion. Most importantly, the legend established the principle that true power was not about domination, but about creating conditions in which all could flourish. The spheres that seemed to grant individual supremacy while actually ensuring collective balance became symbols of leadership that served the whole rather than the self. In the mystical geography of the Tarot Kingdom, the conspiracy's success marked the transition from an age of competitive authority to an era of collaborative wisdom, proving that sometimes the most important truths are those that work their magic through discretion rather than declaration, through patient orchestration rather than dramatic revelation. The four families learned to dance together in harmony, each contributing their unique gifts while respecting the essential contributions of the others. The kings discovered that shared power was more satisfying than exclusive power. The queens eventually recognized the wisdom of temporary secrecy. The knights found honor in protecting cooperation rather than advancing conflict. And the pages grew into leaders who naturally understood that individual advancement was meaningless without collective flourishing. Thus, the conspiracy of crowns became the foundation for the golden age of the Tarot Kingdom, when all the archetypal forces worked in conscious harmony for the first time in the realm's history, creating a model of governance that would inspire wisdom seekers throughout the ages.